How's everybody doing? I'm going to make another tutorial, and this one's called configuring Openwrt as a client bridge remake, and I'm going to be using nothing but Lucy. The very first tutorial I made is just a remake of it. People were having some problems with Relay D, and I'm going to see if I could iron everything out. So people, if you want to use Lucy, then it ought to be easier for you to configure it and get your router set up as a client bridge a lot easier than following my first one, because people were getting confused about this Relay D. They get halfway through it and realize, hey, I ain't got Relay D in there, it's not in the interface. And so I'm going to try to straighten that out, and when I get this one on there, I'm going to delete that first one and everybody can start using this one. Okay, let's get started. The access IP is 192.168.1.1, and click the login button. Alright, now this right here is the older Lucy. If you want, if you got the older Lucy and you want to switch it back over to the new Lucy, the newer one, the bootstrap thing, just go to System, Software, scroll it down to Lucy at Relays. Let's go ahead and remove it. And I want to show you how to you see what it was is I had to put this firmware on here, and I compiled this because I downloaded a fresh copy of Openwrt, and I went to configure it, and all of a sudden I found out that, hey, it's not turning off the DHCP server. And this right here is okay, and there's Relay D. Okay, this right here is the bootstrap thing, and let's go to software. Relay D, I want it off because I'm gonna put it right back on. See, this firmware is what I configured and it worked. The barrier breaker I downloaded for the TP-Link 143ND, there was something the matter with it, and somebody else has let me know they had a problem with Openwrt barrier breaker, and they couldn't configure it. It wouldn't configure. And I configured it. I downloaded it, it was fresh, put it on there, and I couldn't get the DHCP server to turn off through Lucy. I know if I would have, fired up WinSCP, I knew I could have got it turned off, and I configured it that way. But somebody else was having a problem. This must be the problem they had, because I had to take it off, and I had a copy of Openwrt that I compiled myself, and it already had everything on it, so I'm just setting it back to stock. Okay. Okay, that looks good. That looks good. Okay, let's log back into it and pretend this is a fresh copy. Now, this copy of Openwrt is one I compiled, and it already had Relay D and everything on it, set up. And I know this one works. But that one I downloaded from site, for some reason, through the Lucy, I couldn't get the DHCP server to turn it off. I'm sure I could have fired up WinSCP and just went in there and took care of it, no problem. But everybody is not downloading PuTTY or WinSCP and configuring it like that. They just want to use the Lucy interface, and that's the way you want to do it. That's perfectly okay. And this is the tutorial I'm going to make where you can do it like that. And let's continue. Alright, launch. And access IP is 192.168.1.1. This is the one you use to log into the router. And here we are. This right here is the Bootstrap theme. And if you download Openwrt from the site, more likely it's going to look like this. Oh yeah, that fella was telling me that he was having problems with the barrier breaker one. He downloaded the latest one of Chaos Calmer and everything worked fine. He said there must have been something the matter with the build of the barrier breaker, you know. I don't know, but I was having problems with the barrier breaker, the one that I just downloaded and put on there. Yeah, everything was working great, fabulous, beautiful. And the very last thing I'd done was disable a DHCP server so it wouldn't be working. So the DHCP server on the router I had in the house would hand out the IP to this computer, and every time I fired it back up, the DHCP server was still working. And so I couldn't turn it off through the Lucy. And so I put a different one on. This right here is one I built, and this one right here works perfect. I know. I probably need to let developers know that, hey, this probably got a problem with that barrier breaker. Somebody else told me they had a problem with it, and that they downloaded the newest one, the Chaos Calmer, put it on there and configure it just like I did in the first tutorial that was on here, and he said everything worked great. And also, you know, I could do nothing with it, so I put this copy. I know this is a good copy. Alright, log in, go to systems, go to administration. The very first thing you need to do is give it a password. Click save and apply. Okay, right under the system and right up under administration is this software. Alright, first thing you need to do to it is update the list. Alright, it looks good. Alright, then you go to this tab right here, available packages. And you'll see the alphabet right here. Click on L, that's between K and M. Click on L, and what we're looking for is Lucy Proto Relay. I just took it off and I'm going to put it, but I'm just going to show you how you do it, because when I compiled this firmware I already had all that on it. But I pulled it off, so I'm going to put it back on it now. I'm just showing you how it's done. Okay, Lucy app, Lucy apps. We're looking for Lucy Proto. Okay, Lucy Lib, Lucy Mode, Lucy 3G. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Right there. Right there. Lucy Proto Relay. Now, when you install this, it'll automatically pull in Relay D with it. See right here, configured Relay D, configured Lucy Proto Relay. Okay, they're in now. That's the second thing y'all need to do, is go ahead and put the Lucy Proto Relay in there, and it'll automatically pull in Relay D. Okay, install packages. Now let's go to the install packages. Here we go, and it put it right there. It is Lucy Proto Relay. And also, if you look down, Relay D's in there too. So you're all set for the configure. You're all set to configure it. Network, go to interfaces. Okay, now y'all can leave this WAN and WAN 6 in there if you want to. I'm not going to be using the WAN or the WAN 6. When I get done configuring this client bridge, I'm not going to be using the WANs. I'm just going to be using the LAN, the WLAN, and the relayed interface. You can leave them in here if you want to, but I always like to get rid of them because you're not going to be using the WAN port. You're going to be using the LANs and the WLANs. Okay, we only got one in there now. It's just a LAN. Go and go to edit. Okay, go ahead and leave that on static IP. All right, let's take a look at this IPv4 address. It's 192.168.1.1. This is what you use to log into the router. What it is, if your ISP wireless modem has got this same IP address, if you leave this and your main router the same, you're going to have IP conflict right then. And had quite a few people come back saying, hey, it's messed up. We finally figured out that, you know, their ISP supplied wireless modem and the client bridge router had the same IP, and it caused an IP conflict. And somebody told us that you need to let other people know about this. You do need to have a different, all the IPs need to be different. You cannot have IPs alike. If you do, it's going to cause a conflict. You know, it's like a lot of routers and ICP supplied modems and wireless modems already come 192.168.1, or I've seen them come 192.68.01, and I also seen them come 192.168.2.254, and also I've seen them come 192.168.0.254. But if yours comes 192.168.1.1, you need to change it. This IP has got to be different than the one on your main router or one on your main ISP, as Internet Service Provider supplied wireless modem or modem, because you will have a conflict and it will screw things up. And right here is the subnet that really need to change. This is the subnet 192.168.1. Now I want it on the same subnet that's handing out IPs from my main router. My main router that I'm using, DHCP server, is handing out IPs 192.168.0 dot, you know, whatever I want it. Anything less than 100, because it starts handing out IPs at 100, and I want it out of range. If it's out of range from where the DHCP server can give it an IP, if it's out of range, it's not going to give it. So what we need to do is it starts handing out IPs at 192.168.0.100, and my main default gateway is 192.168.0.22. The reason I'm doing this is because I can be able to log back into this router, and I could be able to log in any other router that's got this subnet right here, my repeater, the main router in the house, whatever, by using this gateway. But if this was .1.1, I wouldn't be able to log back into this router until I made the IP on the computer I'm using the same subnet as it is on the router I want to log into. So I'm going to keep all the subnets the same, 192.168.0. All this right here is on the same subnet of everything. And what it is, I got to decide what exactly number I want to give this to complete the IP, and be sure it's different from anything else you got. This right here, I'm going to set it up as 20, and I'm sure that, you know, all the modems and Ethernet bridges and repeaters I got around here does not have an IP of 192.168.0.20. And so I'm sure. Now, if I do When I log up and get everything started, you're going to see something pop up on the screen saying I have an IP conflict. Okay, this is the third thing we're going to do. I want to go ahead and take care of this right here. And this right here is how you turn off disable DHCP server, but we don't want to do that right now. I want to go ahead and take care of this and get the IP changed. This is the third thing we need to do. And you see, when right now I pretty much lost access to it right now. Yep, I lost access to it. Yep. Let's give the router a little bit of time for it to boot back up again. Alright, let's just wait for the router. Once we get this out of the way, then we can continue. Alright, the router is booting up. Give it a little bit more time. Alright, let's give it a little bit more time. Okay, let's boot it up one more time. Alright, let's give it a little bit more time. There it went. Finally. Okay, that DHCP server was a little bit slow, but it did give it okay. The DHCP server is 192.168.0.20, and default gateway is 192.168.0.20, and that's the IP that it gave it. Okay, let's log into it with a new IP. Okay, type in your password. Okay, we're back in. network interface, and there we are. Click on edit again. Okay, we got our new IP all set up. It's working properly. The DHCP server down here is working properly. Okay, go to physical settings, uncheck bridge interface. Okay, right here it says VLAN interface Ethernet switch 0.1 LAN. Tick onto that one. You don't want it on the wireless net. No, you don't want it there. You want it on this one. Click apply and save. Okay, go network interface. Okay, as you see, that's the LAN is all set up. LAN Ethernet switch is 0.1. That's it. We're already on it. Okay, let's add a new interface. Let's add a wireless interface. Okay, click scan. Okay, this right here is the main router, the one that you're going to be getting the internet from. Click join and put in your passkey. Okay, let's talk about this passkey too. To make everything smoothed out, make everything okay, this needs to be a hex key password, hexadecimal password, hexadecimal. Now you pretty much already got a password on your router somewhere. If you want to use it, use it. The original one be perfectly okay. If you don't, then just Google hexadecimal Wi-Fi keygen or key, hexadecimal Wi-Fi key, and they got a bunch of different programs that you can download. They're all free. Once you get it downloaded, throw it up there and generate you a hexadecimal key. Because I've always used hexadecimal, so I've never had a problem. But I was setting up somebody's Wi-Fi, and they says, well, I want this to be my access key. And so well, you put that on the main router. It wasn't Openwrt firmware, but you know, the wireless bridge I was using was. But when I put it on his ISP supplied wireless modem, the key that he gave me, that firmware on that thing locked up, and it screwed up, and it locked up, and it just, I couldn't do nothing. I said, the only thing I done is put it, then it hit me. I said, this isn't a hexadecimal key. So it took me a while to get that thing to reset. Once I reset it, I had to put in the original key that it came with, or I could have downloaded a hexadecimal Wi-Fi key generator program to generate me one that's 6-8 digits long, all the way up to 24 digits. You know, if you want one that's really, really, really long, you can set that thing up where it'll give you a big old fat long one. But I put the original one back on that ISP supplied wireless modem, and everything was okay. And that was the access key that I typed in on the Openwrt firmware that was on the client bridge, and that worked okay too. Everything worked out right. But when I put that key he gave me, it wasn't hexadecimal, and that screwed up that firmware on that wireless modem, where it just was, it was ready for the trash can. So I had to finally get it to reset, and then I had to actually put it, you know, write it off the back of the ISP supplied modem, wireless modem, and put it back in myself, and everything was okay. All right. So what I'm going to be using is a hexadecimal. That's why I ain't never had no problem. I ain't never thought about it until then. To keep everything running smooth and working smooth, if you don't use the access key on your router, And you want a different one, download you a hex key Wi-Fi key generator program and put it on there, your desktop, and make you one, however however small or long you want it. If you don't like the one you're using, just don't throw something in there, because it probably won't work. It's got, be sure it's a hexadecimal. If it's a hexadecimal, you'll be okay. Okay, let's get that out of the way. And the one I'm gonna put on there, I know it's a hexadecimal. Every key I've ever used, I used a key generator to generate it. I just didn't make something up and put it on there. The one I'm putting on there now is I use a key generator to generate it. Okay, change one letter to WWAN to WLAN. Create assigned firewall zone. Switch that over to LAN. Submit. And I usually jack it back down, because 30 dBm is 1,000 milliwatt. That's right much. I always set mine around 22 dB, and that's 158 milliwatt, which is good for my needs. You can jack it up 190, 251, 501 milliwatt. Now that's getting a little high. Your wireless chipset might not be able to handle it, because I know you jack that thing all the way up to 1,000 milliwatt, and that's going to get your Wi-Fi chip hot, and it might burn it out real quick, because I don't think some chips just ain't designed to handle that much wattage. 1,000 mil, that's a bunch. And I ain't had no problem with any of the routers I using. You bringing it down to 22 dBm, that's 158 milliwatt. I remember the first routers I was using, I think they were all the way down to, I think, about 63. They was always under 100 milliwatt, around 63, 79 milliwatt. But these newer ones, you can get 158 milliwatt out of them, no problem. And that right there's the main router I'm using. Just set up a client, and right there's the MAC. Let's check WLAN. That looks good. And click save and apply. Also, if you want to change your wireless security right here's, I'm using WPA PSK. You can use WPA2 PSK, or WPA PSK / WPA, whichever you want, or I really wouldn't use WEEP, because the security on it's really weak, and I'm just going to stick with WPA because it works. It's good. And I don't know, that looks good. But right here, if you want to change it, this is the key right here. Then change it, but be sure it's a hexadecimal. Just don't make something up and throw it in there. Openwrt might accept it, and it might work okay. Then and again, I ain't never tried just slopping something in there and trying it. I always generate a hexadecimal key, and that's what I use, and I've been getting by okie dokie. Alright, save and apply. Alright, that looks good. That looks good. Well, advanced settings. I always do this, but if you're in a big city, you might want to just leave it, HT mode 20. I'm in the United States, and but since I'm out here in nowhere, I always set it on 40. Because that right there gives you some better Wi-Fi signal. Save and apply. You set it on 40 and you got a bunch of Wi-Fi signals in there, it could bleed on to theirs. And if you got a bunch of Wi-Fi people around you and there's a bunch of signals being thrown out there, you might want to keep it 20 megahertz. Okay, let's go to interface. Okay, this is the interface we just created. Client TP link 143ND, and there's the IP it gave it, and it's in the 192.168.0 subnet. which is cool and groovy. Okay, now let's add a new interface and give it a name. I'm going to call it Relay. Right here's a drop down window, and this right here is what a lot of people tell me. It says, hey, when I get to create interface protocol, there is no relay bridge in the drop down window. And I can't get things set up. Well, you're right. If the relay bridge is not in this window, you cannot create a relay bridge interface. Okay, sit down on relay bridge. Okay, cover the following interfaces. Click on wireless network client, WLAN. There's going to probably should be only one that says WLAN. Click on it. Cover the following interfaces, and click on VLAN interface 0.1. Click submit. And here we are. You really ain't got to put an address in there. I ain't never had to put one in there, and it works okay. Works with no problem. Click. Be sure you check these two. Relay between networks, the LAN and the WLAN. Click save and apply. Alrighty then. Bring up. Be sure that's checked. Bring up on boot. Looks good. Looks good. Firewall. Okay, that's right. Okay, network interfaces. And right there it is. That's the new interface we had just created. There's the LAN and there's the WLAN. Okay, one last thing we need to do is go to firewall and just take a quick look. So this ain't no more LAN WANs in it. You ain't even got to worry about this down here. It's all between the LAN and the WLAN. Be sure it says accept, accept, accept. And that looks good. Go back to interface. Okay, go to LAN. And this is the last thing we're going to do before we reboot it. Firewall settings. Yeah, that looks good. Physical setting. That's good. Good. That sounds good. All right. Let's see if this works. The last firmware I downloaded from Openwrt was Barrier Breaker for the 143ND. Okay. Disable DHCP for this interface. You're only going to be getting all your IPs from one DHCP server. You cannot have two on a client bridge setup. You cannot have two DHCP servers working. So disable it. Click save and apply. Okay, that's it. That's all we got to do. If everything worked out right, the firmware I downloaded from Openwrt, I could not get the DHCP server to turn off on this client bridge. It would not turn off. Now I could have fired up WinSCP and went into it that way and disabled it. But I know the reason that y'all are wanting to use the Lucy interface is to keep from having to fire up PuTTY, to having to fire up WinSCP, to go into it that way. Some people says, I want an interface, to do all my configuring. So I don't like doing it the other way, which this is okay. This is, you could set up a client bridge router this way, and it'll work, and it'll work. Okay, check that. That's the last thing we're going to do is disable DHCP from this interface. Let me click save and apply again. Okay. Alright. Right here, you can unplug the router, or you can just go to system right here. Last one on the bottom is reboot. and the system is rebooting. Alright, let's give it a chance to reboot. Reboot it again. Okay. It worked this time. This is the server, DHCP server that's inside the house. It's handing out all my IPs. It's 192.168.0.22. And default gateway is 192.168.0.22. Let's see if we got any internet. Alright, we got some internet. Let's see. Okay, these are new forums right here. These look a little dark. General discussion. They need to lighten that up a little bit, or make that red. That's what they need to do. They need to make that red so you can see a little bit better. Okay. Let's see what the Mozilla's going to do here. Okay. Let's see what we got on here. Just click on something. What's this? Spark Fun. Oh, this right here's my Arduino. My Arduino stuff. I'm trying to learn C programming, and I'm using Arduino and the sketches to learn C programming. Yep, I got an interest in that. I'm trying to figure out C programming. Eventually, one of these days, before I get gray and old and kick the bucket, I'm going to start developing Openwrt, or at least help them boys develop Openwrt. So this is SpongeBob. Always like SpongeBob. And there's a SpongeBob. Slow. I think the wife must be using the computer in the house. Yep. Okay, let's see if we can still log into the router, because I got it on the same subnet, and I got it 192.168.0.20, and okay, I'm in. Well, hey, let's see if we can log into the one in the house. And this right here is the IP for the main router I got in the house. Let's see what I could do with it. And well, what do you know? And this right here is the main router, the one I got in the house. Wow, look at that. Now this right here is the DHCP lease to all the things that it's been handing IPs out to. You see, it's been handing out quite a few IPs. And this right here, this is the main one. This is my AshRock shop PC, 192.168.0.117. You see, here's one that's handed to the wife's Kindles, 192.168.0.235. So this right here is the main router, and the DHCP server's working perfectly. All right. Okay, everybody. I hope y'all learned something on this, and this will make it a whole lot easier for y'all to set up y'all's client bridge using Lucy. And I'm going to take my very first video that I did, and I'm going to go ahead and delete it and get out of the way, because everybody uses it. They get confused about this Relay D, but if you do it this way on this one right here, the way I did this, and it should clear everything up, and you should be okay using Lucy to do all your configs to set you up a client bridge with your modem. With your router, your Openwrt router. And that's it. Everybody have a great day, and bye-bye.